So apparently in Michigan, if you leave electronics in the extreme cold weather, then you try to turn them on really quickly without letting them warm up to house temperature, you can cause some damage. So we've got some technical difficulties going on, and I'm gonna try and do this all in one shot. This is week number 4 of your race education challenge. This is the Silver Review Board. All right, so it's not just the technical difficulties. Also, I'm going to be trying to make an effort to be more authentic and try and bring more people in just with, good personality, good engagement, as well as I've got people coming to stay with me for hopefully the good portion of the summer. And I want to make sure that I can do this in a sustained manner that doesn't take too much of my time away from them. So all we're going to do is recap real quick. You guys kind of got the hang of this. All I'm doing is bringing you information. It is 100% on you to dive into the resources and figure out the lessons that are there to be learned. I'm just and I think that I like this because it's authentic to me. I'm learning too. I'm not a professional in any of this. I'm not a subject matter expert by any means. I just started this learning journey a while ago and within the last year, and I just want to bring as many people to these topics as I possibly can to learn with me. So we're going to be authentic to that. So week number 3, we went through the healthcare system, we went through the housing system, the school to prison pipeline, the racial wealth gap, and the voting system. And then, so all of those issues, all of those topics, that systemic racism, those are the actual systems, right? Those are the things that are proliferating and elongating the time spent dealing with these racial issues, dealing with these racist diseases and manifestations of reality in our lives that have been woven into law, that have been brought to existence because people in positions of power have created these structured systems that keep a certain people oppressed, and that goes totally against our rules, right? So you should have totally gotten into every single detail. I remember there was a lot of detail in there, but if you didn't get into all of it, make sure you go back to week number 3, because what I found is, and I was having a conversation about this today, where when you quote drop, when you just get a snippet of the info that someone is trying to share with you, then you miss a little bit of the context. And context is extremely important when we're dealing with this stuff. You have to know how stuff was said, why it was said, when it was said, who it was said to, what that messenger was intending to get across, what that person teaching or relaying that information wanted you to understand. So if you missed anything, go back and try and get the rest of the information from the systemic racial. One more thing about week number 3, what you really should have taken away is this week explained how all of this stuff still affects us today. So it was a flow from slavery from the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment of the Constitution. It said a lot of great things, but it didn't necessarily enforce a lot of great things. And the inequities and the gaps in equality and all of that stuff thrives because of the stuff that we learned about last week. All right. So if we want to eliminate that stuff, if we want to eradicate the inequalities, then we've got to tear down these systems. This was the week to learn about systems. Those are the systems that we're going to be attacking over the course of the rest of our work as we weave other ideas into these concepts. All right. So week number 4, we're going to be jumping into a lot of the internalized and psychological and physiological effects that come along with something as vicious as racism. Day 22, so that being Monday, we're going to talk about white fragility. And that's someone who is genuinely interested in understanding how deeply racism has affected them as a white person, or as a person that is maybe being looked at as someone that could be seen as being racist, right? Someone who's in that position. It's like explaining your race and explaining the issues that come around with race and how race affects people is difficult if you've never been in those shoes. The book White Fragility, or the whole lesson and understanding behind understanding white fragility, even though that word now is turning people off in rapid fashion, it's important to understand how racism affects you as a white person, how you respond to things in the world of race as who you are. And if you are a white person, this is a voice, this is an idea, these are concepts that you can pick up that will help you grapple with your own principles and with your own ideas and with your own thoughts that give um, force to your actions. So if you want to fix your actions, you got to control your thoughts, right? And sometimes it's our thoughts that are the things that need to be adjusted so that when we go to the voting booth, we're voting in an anti-racist fashion. So we got to attack our white fragility. So that's day number one. Then we talk about cross-racial relationships, the intricacies of marrying and engaging with people outside of your same race, and the effects that that can have on you and the people that you love. Fear, what fear does to a black person. So you know how you're always hearing about how a black mom is fearful of every time that their son is out and about, and then how it feels to drive while black, and the psychological effects and the physiological effects that fear, that racial fear that is internalized by black people, has on their bodies and how they and their life expectancy. And then racial trauma, a little bit deeper dive into fear and other things as well. And then privilege, bringing it back. Privilege, everybody hates the word privilege, right? Nobody wants to talk about privilege on day number 5. And I think that we get weary of these words and we like to push these words out of the acceptable vocabulary. But that's simply just another form of cognitive dissonance. That's simply just us saying, us diluting the issue or trying to mask the issue and say, yeah, fragility, I don't want to hear about it, it's annoying. Or privilege isn't real. I'll give you an example. I am a father who wishes he could be closer to his children, and that's something that I deal with, it's something that I battle with, and it's something that I work against, is building a closer proximity to my kids on a more regular basis. 100% honesty here. That's my thing that I have to work on to make my life better for me, right? And to make my life better for my kids, and to be a better person, and to be a better father. I have the privilege of going to see my kids when I can, when I have the freedom. I exist out in this free world to go see my kids and my babies and give them the love and the compassion that they can get from their dad when I can be there and when I can be active and engage with them. Regardless of your crime, a prisoner of the United States in America does not have the ability to build that relationship with his child. Some would argue that that's a privilege that he gave up when he committed a crime. But if you want to flip it, my kids have the privilege of having their father out and about and able to come be in their life and have them this summer and do things like that, that they can at least build something off of, that we can work dedicatedly to build some kind of non-toxic relationship, right? Other parents have kids that don't have that privilege, right? They're kids of parents that have been, so who's really winning here, right? And that's me understanding my privilege in relation to someone else and their situation. Um, and that's all privilege is. That's all us Americans saying that we are a little bit more privileged than someone living in a different country, or being born in a country without an active running water system, or without access to the internet, or without access to electricity, access to food, and all this other stuff. So we are privileged in every way, shape, or form. You have some sort of privilege over someone else. Understanding that privilege and how it makes you engage with the world inside America, in the world of racism, that's extremely important, so that you can lead with empathy. You can meet people where they are, and not look down on the child who grows up with certain issues. So that's why it's important to understand your privilege as you engage as an American in the United States with people that we understand have been systemically failed, right, by the system, that have been let go, that have been forgotten, that have been cast aside. That's the worst of the worst. That's the extreme. And then all the gradual effects that come along with that to the person, the black person, or the person of the oppressed people. They benefit from these privileges just like someone else. It's a whole range of things, and we got to meet people in their space, in that range, right, in that part of the spectrum. That's That's the reason you have to understand the depths of your privilege. All right. So that's week number 4. It's going to be a fun, introspective week. We're going to learn a lot about ourselves. We are going to make some good idea changes, and we're going to get some good seeds planted in our brains so that we can move forward in the world and engage with people as best as we possibly can. So if you like what you heard today, if you want people to join in on the challenge, make sure you share this video, like this video, subscribe. I'm telling you guys, if you could do me a favor and go to the website and subscribe, www.thecrb.org, add to the email list so that we can do things like get a newsletter out to you and grow this community and make some good stuff happen. See you guys later.